Khalid was learning, training, while Mecca was erupting around him, people converting, people being tortured in the streets, families splitting apart, while his cousin Abu Jahl was out there personally tormenting enslaved converts under the desert sun. Khalid was focused on horses and battle tactics. Khalid has never hurt any Muslim. Was it nobility? Was it just not his style? Or was something else going on beneath the surface? One day, Khalid's own father, the great chief al-Walid, heard the Prophet reciting the Quran, and he stopped. The words hit him. Something moved inside him.
By Allah, words from Muhammad are unlike the speech of men or jinn.
It has sweetness and beauty. Its top is fruitful, and its bottom is abundant. It rises above everything, and nothing rises above it. When Abu Jahl heard that al-Walid was impressed, he became worried that the Quraysh might start believing Muhammad. So he visited al-Walid and said, "Your people think you have inclined toward Muhammad." Abu Jahl pressured him, telling him that if he did not oppose Muhammad, Quraysh would believe he had converted. He pushed al-Walid to invent a criticism of the Quran. After thinking for a long time, al-Walid said, "It is not poetry. It is not madness." Finally, under pressure, he said, "The closest description is that it is magic that separates a man from his father, brother, and family."
It is magic that separates a man from his father, brother, and family.
This is why the Quraysh began spreading the claim that the Quran was sihr, magic. Many scholars connect this incident to the verses in Quran, Surah al-Mudaththir, which describe someone who thought deeply, planned what to say about the Quran, then declared it to be magic. And just like that, al-Walid pulled back, walked away, chose his reputation over what he'd felt in his chest. Khalid was there, in that household, watching his father almost cross a line and then retreat. You have to wonder what a young Khalid made of all this. A father who nearly broke, a cousin who chose cruelty, a religion that was shaking the most powerful people he knew. He wasn't ready yet, but the seeds were being planted. As a member of the wealthy and influential Banu Makhzum clan, Khalid was part of the Quraysh elite who managed extensive commercial interests. Because he was occupied with these regional affairs at the time, he missed the initial confrontation at Badr, and his brother, Walid, was captured there. When Khalid went to take back his brother from the Muslims, they asked for a ransom of 4,000 dirhams. The Muslims knew that Banu Makhzum were one of the wealthiest in Quraysh and could pay such amount. But at his big surprise, an amazing thing happened.
"You have returned to us."
I can't believe you are here.
After taking back his brother and giving the 4,000 dirhams, Walid escaped back to the Muslims and converted to Islam. He had waited until the ransom was paid so people wouldn't think he joined Islam just to escape captivity. He had been moved by the mercy the Muslims showed him while he was a prisoner. The loss of his brother Walid was a huge shock to Khalid. When Walid went right back to the Muslims after being freed, Khalid felt betrayed and confused. He couldn't understand why a wealthy nobleman would leave his high status to join a group of people that the leaders of Mecca looked down upon. This event made Khalid even more determined to fight the Muslims, but it also made him curious. He started to wonder what was so special about this new religion that could make a rich man give up everything. For the time being, he turned his anger into focus. He wanted to lead his army to victory, to prove that his people's way of life was stronger than the message that had taken his brother away. After their humiliating loss in Badr, Abu Sufyan, the new Quraysh leader after Abu Jahl's death, wanted to show to the Arabs that Quraysh is still powerful.
We need more allies. This time we will not attack alone.
O leaders of Quraysh, gather your strongest men. We will show them the power of Quraysh.
They gathered a massive army of 3,000 men from Quraysh, but also from neighboring clans, to march toward Medina and end this war once for all. Khalid was given a key role as a leader of the right wing of the cavalry. The two armies met at the hills of Mount Uhud. At first, the Muslims had the upper hand. They were winning the initial fight, and the Quraysh soldiers began to retreat. The Muslim archers, who were stationed on a nearby hill to protect the army's back, saw the Quraysh running away. Thinking the battle was over and wanting to collect the spoils of war, most of the archers left their posts against their leader's orders. Khalid, who was watching the battlefield with a sharp eye, saw this mistake immediately. He didn't retreat with the rest of the army. Instead, he led his cavalry in a fast circle around the mountain and attacked the small number of archers left on the hill. After clearing them out, he charged into the back of the Muslim army. This surprise move changed everything. The Muslim army was suddenly caught between two forces and fell into confusion. The victory they thought they had turned into a desperate struggle to survive. Khalid's tactical genius on that day showed the world how dangerous he was as a commander. Even though the battle ended without a total defeat for either side, Khalid had proven that he could outsmart his enemies on the field. And Arabia noticed. Word spread. From tribe to tribe, there was a cavalry commander in Mecca who thought differently. His name became a reference point. When Arabs talked about great horsemen, great tacticians, Khalid ibn al-Walid entered the conversation. Years later, the Muslims were marching toward Mecca, not to fight, but for Umrah, a religious visit. Unarmed pilgrims. The Quraysh panicked anyway. They sent Khalid with his cavalry to intercept them.
Let's go, my men! We need to be fast!
He moved
Forward!
fast, positioned himself to cut them off. But the Muslims didn't walk into it. They changed their route, avoided the trap entirely. Khalid found himself blocking a road that no one was walking down anymore. The two sides never clashed. Instead, a treaty. Hudaybiyah. 10 years of truce. No war. No battle for Khalid to win. He rode back to Mecca, still undefeated, still respected, but perhaps for the first time, wondering. Then the world started moving without him. Islam wasn't staying in Medina. It was spreading. Tribe after tribe, region after region. The map of Arabia was quietly changing colors. And then came Khaybar, a fortress, a stronghold of one of the most powerful Jewish tribes in Arabia. The Muslims took it, decisively. Khalid was watching all of this from Mecca, the greatest cavalry mind in Arabia, sitting still, while history moved. One day, the Prophet, peace be upon him, asked about him. He turned to Khalid's brother, al-Walid, and said simply, "Where is Khalid?" A man of his caliber cannot remain ignorant of Islam. That's it. No anger. No bitterness toward the man who had turned Uhud around against them. Al-Walid sat with those words. He wrote to his brother in Mecca, "I am infinitely amazed at the fact that you continue to turn away from Islam when you are as intelligent as I know you to be. No one can be so blind to the truth of Islam. God's messenger asked me about you. It is high time, brother, for you to become a Muslim." The letter reached Khalid. He read it once, then again.
Why is he asking about me when I'm his enemy?
That night, he had a dream. He was standing in a narrow land, tight, dry. Nothing growing, no horizon worth looking at. And suddenly, green, fertile, full of life, space in every direction. He woke up and couldn't shake it. He knew it meant something. He just didn't know what yet. Khalid made a decision. He wasn't going to Medina alone. He started talking to his friends, quietly, carefully.
What do you think if we go to Medina? Have you lost your mind, Khalid? What do you think if we go to Medina? You will embarrass our clan. What do you think if we go to Medina? You are our leader. You cannot go there. What do you think if we go to Medina?
I think that's a good idea.
What do you think if we go to Medina? Khalid, I'm thinking also to go there. Quraysh is finished.
He found two men who were already feeling the same pull. Amr ibn al-As and Uthman ibn Talha. Men of standing. Men who had also been watching, thinking, questioning. He told them what he was feeling, that the road ahead was obvious, even if it was hard to walk, that Islam was not going away, that the intelligent move and the true move were the same move. They agreed, 3 of the Quraysh's own, packing quietly, heading to Medina. When Khalid arrived and stood before the Prophet, the man who had fought against him, whose companions had bled because of him, there was no coldness. The Prophet, peace be upon him, saw him and smiled. Khalid lowered himself and gave his pledge. He said he was testifying that there was no God but God, and that Muhammad was his messenger. The Prophet said to him, "I had hoped that God would guide you to something better."
Can you forgive what I have done to your companions in the past?
The Prophet, peace be upon him, told him, "Islam erases what came before it." Just like that, a clean slate, for the sword that had once cut the other way. Then Khalid told the Prophet, peace be upon him, his dream. The narrow land, the dry ground, walking out into green and space and life. The Prophet, peace be upon him, listened. Then he explained it simply. The narrow land, that was shirk, the tightness of disbelief. A life built around false things. The wide green land, that was Islam. A new Muslim, still learning the prayers, still finding his footing in a community that had, not long ago, been his enemy. He moved differently now, not with the sharp confidence of a battlefield commander, but with a quiet awareness, like a man stepping onto unfamiliar ground. The streets of Medina were not like the fields of Uhud or the open deserts where he once led charges. Here, there was no enemy line to break, no formation to outmaneuver, only hearts to win, and his own to reform. At night, when the city fell silent, Khalid would stand in prayer, hesitant at first, his voice low, repeating verses he had only recently learned. His body, trained for war, now struggled with stillness. Yet there was a different kind of battle unfolding within him, one without swords, but no less intense. He remembered the day at Uhud, the moment he saw the opening, the charge that turned the tide. What he once counted as brilliance now weighed on him like a shadow. And yet, no one in Medina treated him with the bitterness he expected. Some companions looked at him with curiosity, others with caution. But many, with a generosity that unsettled him, treated him as a brother. These were his first days. No titles, no victories, no strategies. Just a man, once feared across Arabia, now learning how to stand shoulder to shoulder with those he had once fought. News began to travel through Medina. A messenger had been sent north, beyond the familiar lands of Arabia, toward the borders of the great empire of Byzantium. He did not return. He had been killed, not in battle, not in open war, but seized and executed, an act that struck deeper than a military loss. Among the Arabs, even in their fiercest conflicts, messengers were not touched. Medina felt it. The atmosphere shifted. This was no longer about tribal skirmishes or caravans. It was a confrontation with a power far greater, organized, disciplined, and watching from the north. And Khalid listened. He was no longer the man making the first move, no longer the one deciding when war would begin. An army was prepared, 3,000 men. At its head, the messenger appointed leaders, not one, but 3 in succession. First Zayd ibn Haritha, then Jafar ibn Abi Talib, and then Abdullah ibn Rawaha. Khalid was not among them. Not yet. Perhaps that was part of his test. He joined the ranks, not at the front, not at the center of command, but as one of many. A man whose name once decided battles now moved without announcement, without recognition. And he accepted it. Reports came. Numbers, tens of thousands. Some say more. 3,000 against an army that seemed to stretch beyond the horizon. For a moment, the weight of it settled on the men. This was not a raid. This was something else entirely. Khalid observed, not with fear, but with clarity. He had spent his life reading battlefields, measuring strength, sensing outcomes before the first sword was drawn. And what he saw was unlike anything he had faced before.